Good morning. Welcome to this latest morning scoop from the Arizona Capital Times. Facing the Future, Workforce and Apprenticeship Solutions. Glad to have you with us this morning. We're going to have an opportunity to send in questions if you have any for our distinguished panelists who are Sean Hutchinson, Director of the Phoenix Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Program, John Lacusa, Vice President of Field Operations for Rosendale Electric, and Shane Snyder, President of Cannon and Went Electric. As the title would indicate, we're going to be talking about apprenticeships and things related to apprenticeships. So again, if you have an experience you'd like to ask us about, we're going to make time for that throughout the course of this next hour or so. Um, Sean, I'm going to start the conversation, I think, in a pretty obvious way for folks. What's the definition of an apprenticeship, and what's at the core of where we are right now, National Apprenticeship Week?
Well, thanks, Steve. Yeah. So apprenticeship training is really it begins with employment in your field of study. You go to work and learn a trade or an occupation while performing the work in the field, so to speak. And then it complements a series of education that complements it. So you get simultaneous schooling and experience in the field of your study.
And so National Apprenticeship Week, give us an idea. Obviously, it makes sense for us to have it this week. How long has that been going on? And what's the significance of it?
I'm actually not sure how long we've had a National Apprenticeship Week. Around our office, we call it Thursday, and we're doing this every day of the year. And I know sometimes we need to shine a light on apprenticeship. Until recent years, it has been kind of the best kept secret in post-secondary education and career preparedness. But fast forward to today, and we're just as popular as any college program when you talk to career counselors in the high schools and whatnot. So it's become a real viable pathway, not just for the alternative students, shall we say, but career counselors are now and especially in light of AI and AI proof careers. The building trades and the construction trades are getting a serious look for all walks of life in a positive manner to move forward in a career.
John, later in the discussion, as we get a big picture, I'll ask you about how your business works with apprentices and whatnot. But first, let's just get started with kind of a personal experience. Can you tell us what apprenticeship meant to you and a young part of your career and how it sort of carried you through, at least put you on the right path?
Well, I got my start, back in the late '80s, early '90s. My dad made me do this. He was an electrician himself and saw where I was heading and not in a very good direction. Would came to college or anything really, and drugged me down to the apprenticeship office and made me sign the papers. And I've been thanking him for the last 35 years, and because every day has been just an outstanding experience, and this has been a great career. And it set my pathway. I mean, it really, the apprenticeship program and the industry itself, the electrical contracting industry, has provided for me and my family for like I said, over 36 years now.
John, same question to you. What's your personal experience like as a young man with apprenticeships?
Yeah, I had a little different path than Sean. Grew up in a family of engineers and thought that was the path I was going to go. And it was that time of maybe our history where that was the push was to get everyone into college, and um, tried that for a few years and then dropped out and wanted to build something with my hands, and didn't really know much about apprenticeships. And I had just had someone recommended it and went down, signed up, and have been here ever since. So I started with Rosen in 2003 as a first year apprentice.
So I know this is a long time ago, and when we're kids, we have a different attitude about things, John. But did you have any idea the difference that an apprenticeship would make once you figured out what it was? Did you feel like, wow, this was like even like Sean said, this was thanking his dad for 35 years. Did you have a feeling that once you got going on that track, it was the right one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. As Sean touched on it already, is hey, you had that schooling opportunity where you're learning the theory and practices, and then you're working on a project where you're reinforcing it and learning from that generations before that have been doing that work already. So it was kind of the best of both worlds there for sure. Just like a true mentorship.
Shane, I've got the same question for you. Give us an idea of how you got started with apprenticeships. and unmute yourself.
I apologize for that. And my story is just a little different as well. I didn't have a family. I was kind of a raised by wolves, so to speak. So I grew up with my friends, right? And I went to college because they went to college. Probably not the best place for me to go, but through my senior year, through high school and then into senior, one of my good friends, his dad was a contractor up in Utah, and we used to help out in the summers. And then through my senior year of college, he said, "Hey, how'd you like to go to Nevada and make a bunch of money?" And I went, "That sounds a lot better than what I'm doing right now." So I left my senior year at the University of Utah and became an apprentice. A little different again. That was a state of Utah apprentice, so a different apprenticeship program. But the state of Utah and Arizona are two different animals. They've got a very defined, educated program up there. And for me, it gave me the confidence. It gave me a lot of the things that I didn't have in the university setting. So it literally set me afoot to where I am today. And I would not be here today if it weren't for apprenticeship.
So, Sean, this is just an offshoot of what Shane had to say. I'm really curious to get your response to it because, yeah, there are a lot of people who take the conventional college path and they don't find a way to actually have a career right away. And in some cases, whether it's through scholarships or through parental generosity for a few folks, a lot of money goes into college. So I want to ask you about the phrase that Shane threw out there about how you want to make a lot of money. Um, Obviously, we'll delve into more detail, but that help people about that. Is there, if you're on the right apprenticeship path, how big a difference can that make for you early on to actually be able to support yourself?
Yeah, these the kids that are coming into the program today, the money that's in the industry today it's almost surreal. The kids that are starting the program, they're starting at almost the mid 20s now per hour. And instead of incurring that college debt that you mentioned, those apprentices that go through this, ours is a 4 year program, so they'll go through 4 calendar years, 8,000 hours in the field, and if you extrapolate out the wages over that 4 year period, you're looking at income, not debt, but income of about $250,000 over those 4 years. And that's pretty good money, especially when you're looking at a kid coming right out of high school. And we spend quite a bit of time actually with them in the first year, teaching them about how to manage their money and how to not to spend it, because construction is it's not a normal employment sector. It's not something that you end up going to work at the same place at the same time every day. You're varied, and it's a very transient workforce, meaning that at the end of a construction project, that there's not another project to build. There's layoffs, there's unemployment, there's gaps in employment, and so the students are taught how to manage their finances so that they can carry themselves onto the next project. But that there's so many varied paths that happen. But generally speaking, today there's a lot of really good consistency as employment in the employment sector, and they will go through the program with very little to no downtime.
I want to stick with you because I want to get into some of the big picture questions we're going to discuss in the next, 45 minutes or so. Um, how significant are apprenticeships now? Even more important, perhaps, how important are they going forward when it comes to helping companies and industries deal with some of these massive changes? I mean, you mentioned AI at the very beginning of the conversation. So apprenticeships have already been important. How much more important can they be as we kind of navigate these changes?
Was that to me, Steve?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wanted a big picture, please. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously it's a really good pathway forward. A lot of times, kids will go into college and they're basically, I'm quoting, Mike Rowe here, and like gambling those tens of thousands of dollars on a job that may be there at the end of their college time. And a lot of those careers are being, like we mentioned earlier, being ate up by AI. So the college track is really, you're really taking a lot of chances with an apprenticeship. You're getting your job on day one of your apprenticeship. You're starting your career. You're starting the work part of it. And yeah, it's become a really significant point forward. We're looking at all kinds of emerging markets that are developing apprenticeship programs to better prepare, say clean room workers for the semiconductor market, or healthcare workers have been talking a lot about going into creating apprenticeships. And the state office has got hundreds of programs that are specialized in these areas. In fact, our program right now is preparing to register standards to teach a 3-year track into a low voltage sector of the work we do. So we're actually going to be running two separate apprenticeships, one for inside construction and commercial industrial work, and then we're having this second program that we're going to be putting kids through. It's shorter, less demanding, but it's in another growing sector of structure cabling and low voltage work.
Hey, John, can I go to you? I want to ask a specific question, but generically, when you think about the importance of apprenticeships as we see so many changes, how important do you think they're going to be even going forward in the short and long term?
Uh, they're very important to that. Is we don't only have this growth that's happening, is we have this attrition rate where we have, this older generation that's retiring off. They've worked their career, they've put money aside, and they're ready for that next phase of their life too. So it's super important. And Sean can talk through some of the numbers of the growth of the apprenticeship. I think we're just starting to see the tip of it too. Everywhere you look is like, hey, there's this war on talent, right? And for these AI companies, for semiconductors, for healthcare, is hey, there's someone behind each one of these projects, and sometimes it's hundreds, sometimes it's thousands. And so apprenticeships are super important in that part. Is we're getting them in there, we're getting them the education, and then they're also able to get that hands-on experience on the projects.
Jane, can I do weigh in on that?
Echo what both of the gentlemen have said. I would just say and I can say this with factualism. I think the apprenticeships of today are where our leaders are coming from. The leaders of our industry will be coming through those apprenticeships. John's absolutely right. The generation before me and my generation, we told our kids, you're not going to be a construction worker. You're going to college. And it's created a major vacuum, which I'm sure we'll get into. But those apprenticeships are teaching the foundational skills that installers or manufacturers aren't being taught. So somebody's got to know the processes and the pipeline. So that's where apprenticeships are going to be key.
Well, Shane, I want to jump on the leadership part of it then too. I think that's a really interesting angle to this. Is it that the apprenticeships find leaders, or the fact that you get this experience as an apprentice means that you're going in knowing so much more that people are going to look to you to be a leader?
All of the above. I think much like the university, you go there to get a degree, but you're going there to get a better rounded version of yourself, a more social version, one that knows how to deal in situational problems and instances. You learn that through the apprenticeship, right? You're sitting in a classroom with other folks of your same caliber, same year, talking about the same experiences. This is where that leadership, the parts and pieces, putting the nut on the bolt and all that. Yeah, we can teach that in the field all day long. The leadership comes from true experience and true communication amongst themselves. So
That's a good one to have you. Sean, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, they both brought up really good points. With an apprenticeship program, one of the biggest benefits, especially in an industry like ours, yes, it's growing. It's growing very, very rapidly, and there's no signs of any slowdown coming anytime soon in the demand for electrical workers. But these leadership roles that John and Shane are referring to, the graduates of these programs, yes, you graduate to becoming an industry expert, if you will. You become top of the installer side of things, where you're journeyman wireman. You get that's your classification in the industry, and you that's what you carry with you. But you go from there, and the contractors, the employers, we have dozens of sponsoring employers that we send these apprentices to go out to work for. When they graduate the program, that is the beginning of how much they can do. I mean, you look at John and you look at Shane, they're products of apprenticeship. Myself included, we're all products of apprenticeship. We took that experience, that education, and we made career advancements stemming from that. And that's one of the big benefits of it. And yes, the growth is unbelievable. In the last 10 years, this program year over year grows exponentially. We've spent decades with small numbers, small growth, and really flat. We always just waiting for the next big job to happen. Well, not big jobs are happening constantly, and with all of the semiconductor, the healthcare industries, the data centers, and all that, all of the demand to get these buildings up and running and then maintained on the other side, and then building the power generation for them, and improving on the grid and doing all of these supply side projects that are now going to start hitting our market. The growth potential for the future. We just did a strategic plan with a third party that came in to study our industry and let our trustees know about what to expect in the next year, 3 years, 5 years down the road. Every contractor that participated in that poll indicated growth, and not just small amount of growth, significant growth over the next 3 to 5 years. And quite honestly, the numbers we still struggle with how to manage this growth, because we built our program to maybe house 600 or 700 apprentices someday. Well, we're sitting at 1,500 now, and it is probably going to be another 1,000 to go before we even hit 2027. So there is a lot of opportunity in this market, and the leadership that's needed to manage these apprentices in the field as they go to work and they learn a new trade. All of these apprentices that are out there need to be managed by foremen, by general foremen, superintendents, project management, all of these positions in this industry that pay really, really well are all being managed and manned by apprentice graduates, largely by apprentice graduates.
That's exciting. Okay. We have a question from Paul. Paul, we're going to go to in a few minutes, but just to remind people, you can send in your question for our panel here in Facing the Future, Workforce and Apprenticeship Solutions. We'll go to them as we can throughout the conversation. John and Shane, John, let me start with you. Can you give me a specific example, maybe more than one, of where apprenticeship really helped Rosendin and the business that you guys have, whether someone really stood out or it led to a real development for the business that really helped you?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to what Sean and Shane were talking about here. Is we can look at where Sean and Shane and myself have ended up, but we have a lot of examples, at least at Rosendin. Like our recently retired CEO, he went through the same apprenticeship. Our former president went through the apprenticeship in California. We have two current co-presidents, and that was their start as well, right? And Sean talked about these other paths that they can take, as well as we've had a lot of these people that have taken different opportunities where they've gone through the apprenticeship, and hey, they have an interest in whether it's safety or technology, or they end up in a safety position or safety management and leadership position, or in our building information modeling, it's 3D modeling, or in that project management realm. And so that career possibility is really endless with that education that is put forth as your foundation. So it's really exciting just to see, hey, when they come in, which direction they can go. Our senior vice president of people came through our apprenticeship, and she took quite a different path to get there, and it's been really exciting to see.
Hey, Shane, what about you? Some specific examples from Canada and West?
I think you look throughout our organization, you see the product of the apprenticeship. Our supervision. I think we've got 3 to 5 apprentices of the year that are currently working here. Each and every one of them, as soon as they turn out, they're being promoted to sub-foreman. They don't even get to spend a day as journeyman most of the time. They go from apprentice to foreman, right? So it's teaching them the communication skills you need on the job. So we are littered throughout, through BIM, through supervision, through project management, with apprenticeship graduates here. Yeah, we wouldn't be who we are today, and I think John would say the same without the apprenticeship there. They're at much more field people than we are, but we're at 800 or so. Over 150 of those are apprentices. So, yeah, they help us at every level of our business.
Hey, guys, let me stick with that. And Sean, please jump in on that. But I want to get John and Shane to talk about this a bit. Is that John? Is that known? Is that common knowledge that at the leadership level that 'cause I was just I asked you about the personal experiences you guys had in the apprenticeship program. Is that something that potential workers, potential apprentices know that, well, if I go work for this business, people who lead this business were apprentices. And so that's really, I mean, that's another sort of, I don't want to say gold at the end of the rainbow kind of thing, but it sort of feels that way. Is that common knowledge around the business?
Yeah, I like to say it is. It's something that we welcome and talk about during our onboarding process, and just kind of throughout our opportunities when we're meeting people is just be curious about who they are and share our stories too. And I think that's one of the things that's super attractive of what we do.
And
Shane, what
I
about
do
you?
the same. When we do groups of new hires, I bring them in and tell them exactly where I came from, right? And there's opportunity for everyone. If you have the attitude, you put in the effort, and your head's in the right spot, right now is an awesome time.
Sean, what about that? How important is it to share and make sure that potential apprentices or those up and coming know just the level of success that can be achieved, not just as we talked about, making some good money early on, but really making it a long career.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them don't know what they're getting themselves into when they come down and apply, and it is important for them to understand that the end of the apprenticeship is just the beginning of a lifelong journey of learning in the trade, and depending on whether it's into management or into the labor side, the labor side is in desperate need of future leaders as well, and to manage contracts and to organize new workers into the market. There's just a myriad of things that an apprentice can do once they turn out and graduate. We need the labor side, the union leaders, the job site stewards, who are invaluable to these large projects that, to manage, the things that happen, during the course of a workday. So, things like that, the apprentices I know are not aware of that, largely not aware of that when they come in. But I will say though that we have become a very popular program. We have more applicants to this program that we can take in and make an apprentice out of. So it is a competitive process. It's not something that a kid can just come off the street, sign up to do, and get started. They have to apply for it. They have to be selected to that program, and they have to basically, you know, convince basically our trustees that they are the best choice of all of the candidates to be in the program. So it is a competitive industry, and it starts from day one. Those kids are in competition for their own positions, and our contractors are in that same competitive market to win contracts and build up good employees and go into relationships with customers with a trained workforce, and it makes a big difference. And these obviously these are big items that a first or second year apprentice wouldn't understand. So it is important to get in front of them and make them understand about the premise of our industry and the customers that we serve, and the need for them to learn every aspect about as best possible about this industry that they can.
No, I think that leads into a good question from Amy, who's in our audience. And of course, like I said, we're live this morning. So please, if you have any questions, please send them in for our good panelists here. All right. High schools are delving into this space. What's your recommendation for young adults? Start right after high school or while in high school? Or wait a couple of years to gain some maturity? I'd love to have all you weigh in on that. Sean, you first.
So, just in my experience, I find that, the sweet spot is somewhere in that mid-20s. They've explored some other opportunities. Maybe they dabble in construction. Maybe they got some experience and they just wanted a formatted, structured way to become, a master level electrician in the industry, and they find their way into the apprenticeship that way. Um, not to say that a kid right out of high school that's say been through the CTE programs that we have throughout the state, really great programs that give a really good introduction into what the trades are about. And they become very, very popular in recent years. Westmac is expanding all of their campuses. Metro Tech and EVIT and all of these, individual high school programs as well that promote and do a very good job of introducing, young kids to the trades. A lot of times, that unfortunately the 18, 19-year olds have had a struggle with becoming an adult and going to work every day and getting up for work at 3 in the morning to be on the job site by 4. So those kind of struggles are usually overcome by about the mid 20s. So I've always found like the best kids that we've taken in, I hate saying that, the best kids that we've taken in have been lower mid 20s in their age. But we've also taken in apprentices, military veterans, people that are on a second or third career. We graduated a 57-year-old apprentice just recently. So if you can make construction work for you and you work hard and you're all about getting up and being energetic about your career. I mean, this really is a good career choice to make, but you have to sell yourself. And that's something, again, the kids could struggle with because they're not quite, into that first full-time job or the responsibilities of becoming an adult, and that they struggle there. But don't get me wrong. I mean, we do have a lot of successful 18, 19-year-olds that come out of high school and, they just get after it and they love the trade and it shows.
John, what about you? What do you think about the what Sean said about age versus experience?
Yeah, I'm going to say there's no wrong answer, right? It's more in that attitude and how are they showing up is we've seen all types, right? Is you get some that are 18 that are maybe not as mature as others, and it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I don't think there's a wrong answer here in any way.
Jane, what about you?
Uh, the same. I think we're open to anyone who wants to work hard, has a great attitude, and truly likes working with their hands. If you like being outside, working with your hands, real simple. If you don't want to sit down and read a book, you're probably our guy, right? The math guys, right? The guys and gals, the folks that love solving problems, but the 50 1,000 page book just kind of turns them off. Those are the folks we're looking for, and anybody with an attitude, effort, and you just show up, right? That's key. You do that with the growth of our industry today, you'll excel quickly.
So,
One
Shane,
thing,
what you're saying is that I can't be one of those 57-year-old apprentices that Sean mentioned because I like to read books. I mean, come on, man. I'm just
No,
teasing
that
you
is not what I'm saying at all.
there.
I'm generalizing completely. We talked earlier about college and who should and shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
For a lot of those folks that don't know what's right for them, it's probably not, right? And I can save you the problems I had. I paid off those student loans for my 3 years, right? I didn't have so I walked it, I talked it. The apprenticeship was my ticket. The other stuff, it made me an adult because I got to experience some things like Sean said. Sometimes that frontal lobe doesn't develop till the late 20s in some of us. So, yeah, it was a perfect.
Yeah, you nailed that, Shane. Sean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say a couple of them mentioned, some of their, female participation in the program as well. When we talk about the demographics of who's successful in this program, females have been just an exploding sector of our population. We're over 10% female participation in our program of about 1,500 students. That's a lot of females that are coming into the trade, which obviously is a non-traditional career path. But high school counselors and the people that are speaking to advocacy groups for females in construction are really opening the door and creating opportunities for females to get into these roles because quite honestly there's probably not enough men in the world to do everything that needs to be done in the future. And John even mentioned it too. I mean, one of his vice presidents at Rosen Electric, I remember her when she started in the apprenticeship. She was actually in my class. She did well in spite of me. But Stephanie Roldan over at Rosen, just absolute stunning career stemming from apprenticeship. And and back in the day where females weren't as prominent as they are today, but we got a long way to go. Our demographics, our classes don't reflect society with a 50-50 mix yet, but I could see that trend moving forward, and it's really good to see.
Thanks, Sean. That's great. Let me reset because we're about halfway through our conversation. We're 30 minutes after the hour. Just want to let everybody know you're watching Morning Scoop. This one is called Facing the Future: Workforce and Apprenticeship Solutions. Our distinguished panel: Sean Hutchinson, Director of the Phoenix Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Program; John Lacusa, Vice President of Field Operations for Rosendin Electric; and Shane Snyder, President of Cannon and Went Electric. Guys, before we get to some more audience questions, I have a big picture question. And Sean, I want to start with you just to sort of set the stage for us, but then I'd love to get some specific examples from Shane and John. We hear so much, and for good reason, in Arizona about healthcare, semiconductors, data centers that are three massively growing industries in the state. How vital are apprenticeships to assisting in that growth and helping make it more likely that growth is successful?
That's a really good question. It's there is, like I said, there is a lot. Those are emerging markets, and they are set to really take off. We think it's busy now. 10 years from now, things are just because you're not only looking at the growth of these sectors and the buildings that are needed to come out of the ground and become a part of that digital infrastructure. You're looking at the supply side of things now, and the water treatment and the solutions for water in the desert. All of these things are coming together. You could see them coming. You look at zoning commissions across and planning departments across the valley, and all of them are talking about water infrastructure. The power grid and the availability of power. Of course, the concerns about residential rates and whatnot. I mean, all of these things are being talked about, and will be solutions being made that are going to again create more opportunity for the future for additional electricians, additional building trades across the board. And apprenticeships, they're kind of unique in a way that we provide a predictable number of outcomes, right? We know what our attrition rate is. We know what our numbers need to be in a number of years due to, like John had mentioned earlier about retirements. We know how many people are becoming eligible to retire in the coming 5 years. Well, those people need to be replaced, and it takes for us, our program, 4 years to develop somebody with the basic skills to fill those roles. So while it will take time, and it takes a lot of effort on this end of where we're at. 5 years from now, things are going to look way different, and I feel like we're just scraping the surface of where we're going to be in another few years. And again, it's that predictable number. When you apply all of the things that we've been doing for so many years, and knowing the numbers that we could produce of industry leaders, the support we get from our contractors is just absolutely incredible. They recognize it, they see it, and they see the numbers, and we have to find the workers somewhere. And the way that we do it is by organically training them within our training center and getting them prepared.
John, pick up on one of those specifically. I don't know if you want to talk about healthcare, semiconductors, data centers. Is there one that really fits more into the wheelhouse that you can address as far as the importance of apprenticeships going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot in semiconductor and data centers. Semiconductors are what brought Rosendin to Arizona from California. We've been doing a lot of semiconductor work there, and it was relationships that were created on those projects that said, hey, there's some help needed. And what Sean was speaking about with that help that comes through that apprenticeship is, hey, we have a huge need. There's a massive amount of demand, and we need some certainty as a contractor to say, hey, we have the people that are trained or eligible to be trained on these skills in these complex situations, right? It's very important for us. We currently have over 300 working in Arizona right now. So just to put that in numbers of, hey, this is helping us, secure work. And then our leaders are super excited about, hey, being able to then help craft those, apprentices into future leaders too.
Yeah. Shane, I want to get you in on this because I think it's as far as what the future looks like in some of these major industries and where apprenticeships fit in.
I think they fit in every part of our business, and we kind of sell ourselves short when we focus just on data centers and the booming industry, right? Because we still need treatment plants, we still need schools, we still need all of the infrastructure that takes to go to feed these new establishments everywhere, right? And all of those are being built by apprentices too. So while the lore of the big job, the healthcare industry here, we are most of our work is healthcare data center. So we're in most of the valley hospitals around, and the leadership, the training, the things we get from these apprentices allow them to operate within an existing hospital facility, right? Where in data centers, we're treating that data like gold. In a hospital, it's something completely different. So it enables us to work and move with expertise through. They're confident about what we do because of the training they've had.
John?
Yeah. So Steve, yeah, that Shane and John are on today with us by design. That not only my long-standing relationship with both of them, they've been, we've all known each other for decades, and but Shane being over Canada went and a former employer of mine before I went into the office, and same thing with Rosedin. Worked for Rosedin as well, and John and I worked together on projects, hand in hand, and but the two of them combined, if you look at Cannon and Went and Rosedin, they're two of our largest contractors that employ apprentices, and the training that the apprentices are getting today, between the two of them, they employ almost half of our apprentices that are in the program overall. And again, we have dozens of employers, but these two in particular, they employ almost half of our population of apprentices. So their perspective today and was important for me to share with and get their perspective on things because they're pretty prominent in preparing our entire shared workforce because as these apprentices come up, we hope that they stay with the companies they're with. Some of them move on to other companies, some of them move on to other job sites. Um, but it's still a shared labor pool, and we're all of the contractors are combined, all of the NICA contractors that we have that we send our apprentices to go out to work for, they are being trained as a collective labor pool that our contractors draw from when projects come up and down. And the way they come up and down today is like a whole new world. But no, it's really, having them on today was definitely by design.
Excellent. Excellent. We got a question from Natalie, one of our viewers. Again, if you have questions for our panel, please send them in. We've got about 20 more minutes to go with the conversation. There's a considerable need for workforce in electrical fields focused on renewables and energy efficiency, such as energy auditors, building weatherization efforts. How will those workforce training programs help to fill those gaps?
Well, I could say they are part of, they are part of the electrical trade. All of these projects and these special installations, we do a number of collective hours putting in battery storage and solar fields and other alternative energy solutions and powerhouses. We're working in all energy sectors because, again, we need all energy sectors to be growing to produce the needed power for everything that's yet to come. So there's no real like, when we train an apprentice, we're training them to be ready for all of these sectors. So it's not just a niche market and we do niche training. We prepare journey level workers that can go onto a alternative energy project or into a hospital or into a data center and perform the work that's needed to be done in a proficient manner. And that's what we do. That's what we're preparing them to do. So I know one of the things that we look at today, it's again with the overwhelming demand on electrical workers, is there's a lot of programs that are coming out. Some of them even call themselves apprenticeship, but they're not. They're shortcutted pathways. As I mentioned, we're a 4-year program to get somebody the basic qualifications to be in this trade and be an effective worker in the trade. We have programs that are coming out. Hey, come down to us, pay us a bunch of money, and we'll make you an electrician in 6 months. And there's no work involved. There's no experience. They just they take people's money, they qualify themselves for workforce dollars, and then they give false hope to these kids. And a lot of times our applicants are coming from these programs, these 6, 9 month programs, to come into us with that experience, expecting to get, a pathway. And it's, hey, welcome to year one, because you don't have any experience in the trade. You can't have an apprenticeship if you don't have work experience.
Sean, does that mean you have to then correct or overcorrect what they've quote unquote learned from, you know,
Sometimes, sometimes the education side, I'm sure it's good. I mean, there is a lot to learn in this trade. There's theory, there's a lot of math, and uh, I'm sorry, Shane, there is a lot of reading in this in the program. We have, they
You know what I
graduate
mean?
with a stack of textbooks that's about 3 foot high, and they study from these books for 4 years, and there's a lot to learn in the trade, and there's some of that learning does happen in these programs, but it's not career preparedness, and it doesn't yield a job, and that's it's sad because I mean, some of them have fancy advertisements and they're on TV, and they're advertising to a population knowing there is a demand, and they're trying to fill it with shortcutted programs that don't yield a career. And it's sad to watch. It's sad when they come in and they tell us that story and how they spent $20,000 on a 6 month program, and they didn't get them a job. It didn't get them anything but entry level wages.
Shane or John, did you guys want to jump in on the renewable energy part of this? I thought that was kind of interesting when it comes to electrical training.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. We have a group that focuses on that. They're based out of our California and Texas operations. And we've done some pretty massive projects with them here on the renewable energy side, mostly on the solar and battery storage. And it's like Sean said, it's that demand's there. Um, we also need that workforce there, but the apprenticeship also transitions right into that, right? Is hey, the theory side of things, and here's how it relates into a renewable energy type scenario.
Right. Shane, do you have any thoughts on that?
Just echo what the gentlemen have said. Any more tools in your tool bag make you more marketable and more valuable as an individual, and our apprenticeship kind of covers them all. We make a well-rounded individual when they leave. So
Shane, let me stick with you on this. I wanted to ask you about hyperscale projects. How have current and future hyperscale projects affected advancement opportunities for apprenticeship graduates?
it's blown the doors wide open because of the mass influx and the need for workers in the valley. I think in the valley now, out of our local, we're over 4,000 workers, when a few years ago we were at 2,400. So with that added influx has created added need for supervision, right? Leadership in all levels, whether that's at the JTC, the union hall, the contractors, everywhere. The generals are, as soon as our apprentices are turning out, the generals are stealing them from us for MEP coordinators and those things. So it's they've had a major impact. Um, there's a whole nother area of that I'll go into that Sean doesn't want me to, so I'm not gonna. But um, a major impact in opportunity. There's never been a better time for people in our industry with the right attitude, the right mindset, and the right work ethic to move up fast. Period. End stop. I don't think it's ever been like this.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of Shane's thoughts there. Is those opportunities that have been created is unreal. And it's also with that thought of like, hey, our general contractors want to hire these people that are highly skilled and highly qualified. Same with the owners, right? Is you look at hey, you built a hospital or a semiconductor or a mission critical facility. Who better to help operate that than the people that built it? Um, but then there's that leadership side of things too. Is I know last year while we were doing our business planning for the organization, it was hey, we need 1,000 new foremen and general foremen across the country. Not just here in Arizona, but and it was like the first time we had really put all of those numbers together in that way, and it was pretty daunting. But it was like, okay, where are they coming from? How are we training them? who's taking their spot, right? Because when someone is promoted to that, is someone's got to fill their role too. And then who's filling their role? And it's like Shane said, there's never been a better time to be in this industry.
John, I want to go back to something you said early on, and that was related to attrition. In fact, we're seeing workers who maybe got their start as you guys did in apprenticeship programs, have been in the business a long time, and are now deciding to retire. Maybe they're moving on to something else. Um, how important before that attrition kicks in, though we've already seen it to some extent, how much can apprentices learn from those experienced workers, the folks who've done it, either the trio we have here who've started off as apprentices and have gone on to great success, but even those who've reached a good mid-level solid success, how important is it for the apprentices to be able to learn from some of these experienced workers before they go off and retire or do something else?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it's really important to get that contact time in the field with strong leaders and people with the experience that can train an apprentice. I think all of us on board on the panel here have had the benefit of going through a program that really places that apprentice on the right on the hip of that journeyman. Throughout my time, learning how to be a good journeyman wireman, over my time as an apprentice, I always had that journeyman in the field. And unfortunately, the industry has evolved today, and the apprentices and all of the sub journeyman labor that's on the on the job site today, it's necessary for them to be a real productive member of that crew. And you lose a little bit of that contact and one-on-one time with a journey level worker. So the JATC, that the program itself takes on a lot of those roles of teaching the basic skills, teaching how to. I mean, let's face it, kids today are coming out of the gate at a different starting line than kids when we came out, because we worked on our car back in the day. We had mechanical aptitude coming in. The kids coming in today really don't have that experience. So we're starting at an even more basic level with these kids, and it's really impacted the program and taxed us to, because they're not getting in the field as much, and they're not coming in with the experience, so that the programs themselves are now being, asked to do some of the most basic things, and it creates interesting challenges. I mean, nothing we can't, we can't handle, but it's still challenging because the kids are not, again, not coming to us from the same starting point.
John, have you had the chance to be a mentor to apprentices, or have you seen some examples of folks who maybe are moving on from Rosendin, or they're retiring, but they made a real impact on some of the apprentices coming through? Because I really think about that. I think about even in whatever business you're in. I'm a big fan of institutional knowledge and being able to pass that down to someone else.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I've seen both sides of this. Um, and the hard part, right, is if you ask them to tell you about a career, right, as they're leaving, um, it's hard to give those specifics. But then if you ask, hey, I'm dealing with this problem, there's an answer, there's a story, there's a caution, and it's like the best form of like that corporate storytelling that happens. And when Sean was talking, I was just thinking of like, hey, we have a generation that's growing up with these phones that are a distraction, right? Is I remember, as an apprentice, maybe struggling with my schoolwork, and I'd bring my books to work, and at lunchtime there was those individuals that you could ask about it, right? And now you go and you go see a lunch tent or a lunch area, and everyone's on their phone or has gone to their car, and they're not engaging in it. And maybe it's not just about the schoolwork, but it was also about life, right? Is hey, what are you dealing with? What are those relationships like? What are those opportunities? And what's that advice that can be provided? So there's a generational thing here that we also have to be aware of, um, on both sides of it, right? Is when we have an 18, 19-year-old individual joining us, is what does that look like for them? But what does it look like for the older generation? And how do we make sure that they're able to communicate and align and have a common vision here too?
Yeah. Shane, can you comment on that? I want to get what your experience was like. Um, just the idea of well, mentoring or something, and you're still on mute.
Yeah, no. And then the last 3 to 5 years here, I will stay specifically because of the influx and the growth. We've turned a more focused eye on mentoring, right? Making sure that the individuals have someone to report to get that experience, all the way from my position to our warehousemen to our material handlers. So no, we encourage the flow of communication. I don't know that I can add much more than what John's added, but yeah, no, the mentorship is key. The vacuum we're seeing with the boomers leaving is creating an issue, and it's put even broader emphasis on that mentorship. There's not a lot, like Sean said, of one-on-one, or John said, of one-on-one going on. It's more, maybe a 5-to-1 deal, to where, you've got 4 or 5 folks you're overseeing, you're mentoring them, and they can come to you at any time for any kind of question. So that's kind of how we getting around it. But yeah, that vacuum is creating a space of trainers, right? Because you need a large number to be bumped up, but then we've got this hole where we're lacking. So
Yeah. Sean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, just like they said, it's something we're seeing. It's happening as we speak. This is the time where this generation, that those boomers are about exited, and some of these now Gen X, if you want to call them, they're approaching these times, and yeah, it's going to pose a challenge to every industry. It's not just not just ours. I mean, it's every industry is facing this. But I think that we have the necessary the machine, if you will, to handle and to address these issues as they come up. We have the structure that will produce those qualified candidates that'll come up and replace them. So yeah.
This is a little bit different, but we did have the question earlier about high schools delving into this, but a little bit of an offshoot of that. How important is it for educators, high school counselors to be providing more good information to students about apprenticeships? And I wonder, just somewhat briefly, have you seen changes in that recently with educators, counselors paying more attention, those kind of opportunities? Shane, I see you nodding your head. What do you think about that?
right. Sean's probably more
Okay.
qualified to answer, but I will say that we've seen younger folks entering the program currently. In the past, the 2008 thing, we saw a lot of 35-year-olds entering in. Now we're starting to see the kids out of high school again. If COVID did one thing, it got people to not be relying on others and want to work with their hands and do things. So we did see an influx of folks come in to the apprenticeship there. Um, and I'll let Sean kind of.
Yeah.
We do see quite we participate in a lot of like events throughout the year, career fairs, and we go to high schools and districts and whatnot. But just the growth of it's an event that we do every year. Rosedale and Canada went both are engaged with. It's called Construction Career Days, and it's basically it's a statewide event that invites all of the high school kids that have an interest in the trades as a career. We Last year we hosted like a record number of 5,000 kids that came out to our booth and our displays, and they had the tools in their hands, and they were really interested in learning about how to move forward in a career in this. So yeah, it's definitely seeing the positive messaging for trades and the careers. I know I mentioned him earlier. You hear that Mike Rowe guy. He kind of really he does I thought did a really good job throughout his time on TV about showing the value of work and the valuing of these workers. And it's not just a career that's marginalized anymore.
Shane, you put your hand up?
Yeah, I would just say the way that the counselors and advisors help us and help the industry is not is but by providing the appropriate program to the person, right? So through communication, they're skilled at that. Let's not keep the trades to the side and just push the colleges. It's a viable option. It's a viable option for everyone. So all we would ask at the counselor level is just equal time. I
Okay.
think.
John, you have any brief comments on that one?
Yeah, I mean, just a small thing to add, right, is that there was that like stigma for a while. Like if you couldn't make it to college, then maybe you join the military. If you
Mhm.
couldn't do that, then your last option was the trade. And it seems like there has been a shift there. It's exciting to see for sure. And there's these kids that show up. I'm using Sean's term there with kids, but men and women that show up, and they have a different perspective too. And they ask great questions at times that we can get stuck saying, "Well, this is how we've done it," and it's refreshing to see and hear those questions to get us to look at things from a little different angle or perspective as well.
Well, you three are great examples of people finding success. So if people have any questions about it, you're certainly three to go to. We're about to wrap up here, but Sean, we haven't, I'm going to dip my toe slightly into the political government angle, but not really. But specifically, what steps has Governor Hobbs' administration taken to strengthen apprenticeships, and to whatever extent, how important is it that people sometimes want government to get out of the way, but is there help the government can provide to make this a better program for the state?
Well, yeah, the governor's office has been really invaluable. I mean, I've never had or never seen a governor that has focused so heavily on promoting trades work as a as a career, and her support of the apprenticeship programs through Build It AZ and the promotional aspect of that, and then providing some resources to the programs. You know, it's never enough. I mean, we can never have enough resources, but the governor has done a really good job of promoting the trades, and a lot of the growth that we've seen, the interest in their applicants and the numbers of interested people coming to seek out apprenticeship. I attribute that a lot to what the governor's done, and what's really been really refreshing as well is she actually listens and called. I've spent a number of afternoons with her in her office. She's asking us, what else do you think we should do? She asks the right questions, and really providing all the resources to the programs. It's great and all, but if I don't have employment opportunities for the apprentices, we don't have a program. So, if you talk about it from a government standpoint, yeah, get government out of the way and let's continue development, let's continue to grow, and let's continue to find solutions to provide, the infrastructure we need and make Arizona a leading economy in the country. That's really the focus. And if we're doing that, the opportunities for apprentices will come. And that's so yeah, get the heck out of the way and let us run our program and get a get the next generation of electricians out there.
Gentlemen, we've only got about 2 minutes left, and I want to have each of you give what I'll just call a takeaway from our conversation. Uh, John, let me start with you. If there were like a 30-second message for folks who didn't get a chance to watch the entire thing that you would want people to take out of this, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, just give it a shot, right? Is be curious, find out some more. Is it's not for this isn't the last chance, right? This is a choice, and I wish more people knew what the opportunities that exist. We kind of highlighted the three of us on here, but it's also all of those unnamed ones and those people that have made a difference in our lives as well.
Great. Shane, how about you? You have 30 seconds you could give us as a takeaway?
Awesome industry, awesome growth capabilities, incredible time to be a part of it. If you want to work hard, you want to be outside, you want to do good things with your hands, we are who you want to be with.
Great. Sean, wrap us up.
Yeah, just a great career to be in. I mentioned the union side of things as well. Being part of a labor union and having everything in writing the way it is in a union contract. When we bring apprentices in, they know what they're getting themselves into. They know the wages, the benefits. They're all leading the industry, and that's having this much opportunity in a union negotiated program like this is, it really is, opportunity for not just the participants, the employers, the members, everybody really is benefiting through this program. And it's, I've been around for a minute now, and it's really developed into I think a thing that we can be proud of.
This has been the latest morning scoop from the Arizona Capital Times, facing the future workforce and apprenticeship solutions. Thank you, all of you, for getting up early to watch with us, but a special thanks to our panelist, Sean Hutchinson, Director of the Phoenix Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Program, John Lacusa, Vice President of Field Operations for Rosenman Electric, and Shane Snyder, President of Cannon and Wendt Electric. Gentlemen, thank you all very much for the time today and the great information.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.